Do you find yourself constantly saying yes to others, even when it drains your energy or compromises your own needs? Have you ever felt guilty for putting your own happiness first, fearing you might upset or disappoint someone? Is the fear of rejection or conflict holding you back from expressing your true feelings and desires? Do you often seek approval from others, measuring your worth by how well you please those around you? Join me after the intro for a conversation with a very special friend with whom we will answer this and many more questions. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's start. Hi, I'm Rossana D, and this is Forgive and Thrive, a podcast where we explore what thriving in life means and how we can achieve it, irrespective of our past, current condition, and expectations that those around us or society in general may have. Let's go. Welcome to the Forgive and Thrive show. Let me ask you, how many times have you caught yourself agreeing to something that you didn't want to do, just to avoid disappointing someone? Maybe you have found yourself putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own, because that's what nice girls do, right? Well, I've been there, and I still find myself there from time to time. For years, I was the go-to person for everyone else, always trying to make sure everyone was happy, even if it meant I wasn't. It's exhausting. And the truth is, the more I tried to please others, the farther I got from my own happiness. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. So today we want to talk about how to break free from the nice girl syndrome without feeling guilty and stop saying yes when we really want to say no. And with that, reclaim our voice without feeling as if we were doing something wrong. And we dive into this extremely important topic with today's guest, Tanisha Simpkins. Tanisha is a highly rated inspirational and motivational speaker with over 10 years of experience as a women's coach and group facilitator. She works with individuals, groups, and organizations to amplify their authenticity and empower them to become a better version of themselves. Tanisha is also the founder and host of the Table Talk radio show podcast. Hi, Tanisha. Welcome to the Forgive and Try show. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, how are you, Ramona? Thank you for having me so much. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be able to talk to you in regards to this amazing topic that we have on today.
Fantastic. I'm excited as well because, as I said, it's something I definitely suffer from. But before we go into that, I would really love to start with you, and in particular, your journey. And did you ever suffer of the nice girl syndrome?
Okay, let me just give a definition of what we would say the nice girl syndrome is. So if that identifies to anyone, then they'll know that we're talking to them or someone that they may know. But I think this identifies to everyone sometime a part of their life or sometime a season in their life. May not be always, but I think the nice girl syndrome has shown up. It says the term is used to describe a woman who offers needs before their own to the point of self sacrifice. It often involves a fear of conflict, a desire to be liked by everyone, and a tendency to avoid expressing negative emotions. Have I been there? Absolutely. You know, there's times where a situation may come up, especially at work or with family, and you just say, you know what? I don't like conflict. I don't like people yelling at me, Ramona. I don't. Um, I kind of shut down, shy away, walk away. You know, if I start a new friendship and if I see that person, male or female, wants to be a little combative, a lot of times in conversation, I just feel like it's just not for me, you know. So I've been there, done that, in different situations, or even with our family, you know, the fear of not wanting to be negative. So you really don't say nothing positive. You just say something in general. You know, if you have any kids or your family members, try not to avoid the confusion of things. So you just play nice, as they would say. I just play nice. And we've all heard that saying before. Just play nice, meaning just don't say nothing, just give in, just suppress how you feel and be quiet.
How do you think that the societal pressure that, or expectations perhaps that we have nowadays? I'm thinking, for example, about social media. Just that already is a big, puts a lot of pressure on, especially the younger generation. How do you think all this pressure can shape the way we think about ourselves and the way we should behave with others and be too nice perhaps for our own good?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, you're right, because it does bring about self-esteem. You say about social media, you have a lot of people on social media are very opinionated, right? You may put just something there as your opinion, but then you get attacked with all the responses. They start bouncing on you. Then it starts dealing with our mental health. It's the pressure of our mental health that we have to deal with. I know this is wrong, but I'm not going to say anything, but I'm just going to go along and just, okay, you know. And I know this is wrong for me. Imagine being in an organization or a group and someone say, well, hey, I need you guys have to do this because we are the leaders and that's what we say. And you saying to yourself, but that doesn't support me. And how do I voice myself now? Because that doesn't support me. Do I say what I feel? Do I walk away? You know what I mean? How do I deal with that? And that has a lot to do when we're talking about the nice girl syndrome. And I can say the nice girl syndrome, but it can be for guy or boy. But there is a nice person when it comes to that. We just giving in and not supporting our own self of how we feel about some situations.
So, what sort of messages did you get when you were growing up that created that sort of, oh, I need to be nice here, and how they influenced basically your life as an adult?
Okay. Okay, so and I'm glad that you asked that question because I grew up with a young single parent and she was young. My mom was very, very young, a girl. And so I grew up mostly with my grandmother and she was known as the mean lady. So it was a lot of toughness. It was a lot of quick answers. No, I'm not having it. I'm strong. There was no niceness. It was, what did you say? Or I have, if you tell me something, I have a word back for you, immediately. I developed that later in years when I realized that every time someone had something to say, I didn't have to say anything. And it wasn't having a nice girl syndrome. It was just being nice and compassionate because you never know what people are going through at that moment when they're lashing out, when they're venting, or when they're talking, and so forth. So I had to have asked for a lot of humility for myself and for other people. And I had to do a lot of research on compassion. So whenever I do a professional development class, I always have one module or class of being compassionate, and that's just being genuinely kind. Because sometimes we don't always grow up in that environment to be kind for what the world sees us. They may say, oh, she's always angry. Oh, she's so bossy. She's very strong, and that could be very much so. And we may not have that niceness or kindness or that, but then in life, if you know you don't have it, you just need to develop it. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with developing that niceness because then people will see you in a different way. They'll say, oh, I thought you would react this way. And in your mind, I don't do that anymore. Maybe then, but I know better now because I know what it does to people if I'm not nice.
It's interesting that you back the point of being kind, because sometimes I feel that being kind is what for some people may create confusion between being generally kind with other and over self-sacrificing themselves for others. And sometimes we perhaps pass that threshold where kindness becomes something else, becomes self-sacrificing. Would you agree, or do you have any experience, personal or?
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Even if we're being kind, Ramona, we still have to have boundaries. We got to have boundaries because we can be kind, and some people may have never had that from someone, and they'll look at us like, I can take advantage. I can say what I do. I can want to do what I do. I'm a single person, so if I meet someone, they may look at it as, oh, I can see what I can do with this. No, 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 because there are boundaries. There's boundaries where I'm not going to let anyone go too far. As far as we would say, what I'm sacrificing for, as you to be upsetting to me or put me in danger or just taking advantage of me, and also that avoids manipulation. We all can see manipulation in our life. Sometimes we see those red flags with no matter who they are. A lot of times we see them. And if I'm being nice, I have to have my boundaries, and I have to realize or decide or see that you're not trying to manipulate me for my kindness, for my sacrifice, or me just genuinely being nice or a giving person to someone. Would you agree?
Mm, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned the word boundary because it's something that I had to learn very late in my life, only
Yeah, yeah,
years
yeah.
ago. Because sometimes we are not tools. You have to have a boundary here, and especially when you have that, oh, you need to be nice. You see, you need to be nice with your friends and with your colleagues, or other students, perhaps when you are at school, and you grow up with that.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So being nice, what it means, saying some always yes, being pleasing towards other, and we don't appreciate really how much saying no,
Right,
how important it is to say no, and to say, well, this is not acceptable. So thank you for stressing that out. We have talked about boundaries in this podcast a number of times, because I think it's one of those topics that are really difficult to get, and we sometimes think that boundaries are, we are being nasty perhaps.
right,
And in fact, we are being compassionate to ourselves and to others as well, because we are basically telling this behavior here is not acceptable. However, this is okay. And I remember there was a beautiful image one day I was given talking about boundaries. It's like a fence of your house. There is a place where
hmm,
you shouldn't really go on my lawn. However,
right.
there is the gate and you can pass through the gate.
Let me add to that. With boundaries, and I want to add to it. Sometimes I do a parenting class. I love doing community work, guys. When it has to do with the community or helping someone at parenting, I get involved. And I'll sit there and I tell the parents, because I worked at a middle school, and a lot of times it's our parents who are manipulated the most when it comes to the nice girl, nice guy syndrome, because our kids, they know that in our generation we're making it better than what we had, right? So they know that I'm gonna push the envelope to get something greater, I guess. Well, you never had it, so why can't I have it? I stood on my nose with my kids. I just felt like I knew what the outcome would be if I said yes, you know and that's thinking ahead. Like if I told you yes to stay out later 2 hours, what could happen? A lot of things that we tell our kids, we have to give them the no, and I know sometimes they'll make you feel bad about it, or you'll feel bad yourself. You just feel bad, walk away. If you had to go to the bathroom, cry a little bit and come back out, but it has to be a no. And the no is normally for their protection, is normally for their protection. It's a no. And no for the people who try to put more on you than you can bear. They see that your plate is full and they
Absolutely.
still try to add a little bit to the plate. Let me squeeze this in on the plate. You got a little room right here on your plate. Let me put this in on you. You got to say no. Because it's your health that's involved, it's your mental strength that's involved, it's how you feel when you're tired and stressed. You have to say no. I can be transparent. I had a heart attack in November 2021. I was overworked, not much sleep. My daughter was the last 2 years in high school. She was involved in things that you can think of at that age. Their identity of what I want to do, they don't know what to do. What type of friends, who's my loyal friends. So as parents, we still have to deal with that. And I was working, met a girl, and I had a team, and it was during COVID. It was rough, and I thought I was just having a bellyache. So I was just taking some ginger drops or whatever. Come to find out, I didn't know that was part of having a heart attack. So when I went to my doctor, she said, "Oh, you got to go to the hospital immediately." So I went to the doctor. They did what they did. I ended up getting a stent. But from that day on, I said, "You know what? I got to take it easy, less stress." I needed a mental break because I have always been that person that overload. I would do the radio. I would be on the podcast. I would be in the community. I would be with my daughter. 7 days a week, I was busy from sun up to sundown. Friendships, whatever's going on with them. So it's like, okay, I gotta get this together. And I took a break from everything that I did. I just got back. I think I told you, just got back into podcasting. I took a whole year from that, especially just to for your own mental state, because that no could mean a lot for your own self. It could mean to them, oh, she said, no, they'll get over it. They'll get over it because in the end, Ramona, we have to choose us when it comes to that and what's good for us.
Well, first of all, I'm really sorry to hear of your health issues, and
Oh, I'm good now.
exactly that's where I was going. I'm really glad to see you smiling today, which means we can go through a very difficult, rough time and come out of the other way. So it's a message
Absolutely.
in itself. But I think it's a very important one, mentioning the consequences of just not saying no. And sometimes we feel so guilty, you know,
Mm,
when we say, oh, I need to say no here. I need to prioritize my needs over someone else's expectations or requests. And
right.
when it comes to family, you want to obviously try to help as much as you can, but that there are so many other aspects in our lives. You mentioned your work, you mentioned your community, and yes, you want to do the best you can, but sometimes it's just
Right.
too much. Do you feel that sense of guilt when
Oh,
you need to stop and say, well, I got to a point where really I cannot go any further?
yeah. You feel that guilt, but you want to do better in your health as well. I'm one of them kind of people. If I'm gonna stop, I give you a resignation letter. That's just me. I just feel like, let me give you a solution or closure to why I'm not. So I was part of the organization. I sent in a resignation. I was part of this. I sent in a resignation to let you know I would no longer, because to me, I feel like that was that's my final. I can only see it from afar and encourage you. Okay, you're doing great, but I can't get out there and be involved or come to the table, mastermind, and so forth because I have to get me together. Do you feel guilty about it? Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel guilty about some decisions or some no's that you give to your kids? Yeah, because that's something that they want or maybe something that they desire, their desires. Or, we tend to, okay, well, you want a car. So now it's a no for you through your finances, but then you sacrifice something else. I just pick up another job. That's what we do. Your husband say, "Oh, I want to go and get this property," and you're looking like, "I don't think we can afford it." And then you want to like, if I say no, will he be mad? How will this work? Will he leave? You're just thinking of all these things, and it makes you feel guilty. But I think our mental health, our boundaries, our self-esteem, I think is more important than anything than the guilt.
If you had to say, when was last time you really made a choice that was based on just what you wanted, regardless of what everybody around you wanted or thought or asked you to do? When was it? And what was it for, if you can say it?
So a person wanted me to, they wanted to be my client. They're a musical artist. So they wanted some professional development and to be me, be their agent. So I did what I did. I listened to, some of the conversation, what they had to say, like 15 minutes. So, but you kind of already know exactly where it's going if you've done it a long time. You know where they're going at, you know what they need, and you know how much they need, pretty much. So I sent my information. I sent the contract of what it would be. And they replied back, this would be too much. I'm looking, this is this. The old me would have been like, let me see what I can take off. Let me see what I can take off on the contract, not do this. The old me would have modified it just to please them. But the new me, hey, you got to take it or leave it. I'm not going to do more than what my value is because I'm giving you what my value is. This is my value. I'm giving you the contract. This is my value of who I am, what I can do, and what we can do. And I know that we can do this because you reached out me because of that. But if you tell me no or this or try to, this and that, I can't do it. And I just left it like that. I said, my apologies. Sent a nice little statement. Whenever you're ready, just let me know. I wasn't going to modify it. No, I wasn't going to do that because then it becomes stressful to me. Because if you're going to do that now, when it comes times to pay, you're not going to be available to pay. So I just said no.
So, if you had to give one advice, for example, to anybody listening that feel that they are affected by this nice girl syndrome and they cannot really say no, what would you say could be the one step they can take today to stop with that behavior, to be more assertive, more confident in themselves, perhaps put themselves and their needs first before everybody else? What would you say could be?
I would tell them to write down some things that they feel that they're too nice about, or even people, and think of situations that they've been in that they basically gave in, because that's what the nice girl central is the giving in. That's something that they gave in knowing they did not want to be a part of. How can you identify that? So when the next time that happens, you know what to do. Write down what happened, and I need you to write down what you think your response should be. And you can say it verbally. Because it doesn't have to be mean to tell somebody that, no, or you don't want to be involved, or hey, that's not for me, maybe another time. Write down your verbiage. And in that verbiage, use it every time you come across that situation and see how it works and be okay with it. Just be okay with it, of saying it. And that's the thing about it. I have to be okay with saying no too. So we have to practice. And if it's okay, I come from a customer service environment. We practice verbiage. So you have to practice, what your response will be, and try it out and see how it works. That's the best advice that I can give someone who wants to know how can they take one step of coming out of that syndrome, not having to always sacrifice their materials or funds or their lifestyle or who they are, not having to always sacrifice that, So to me, that's just one step to move forward. And doing that is just practice a verbiage of what you would say.
Beautiful. And if there were teens that
Contact me. Get in contact with me. I'm on all social media: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and it's I am Tanisha Simpkins. You can contact me, and also I do have a website, the Table Talk Media Group. It's the website that you guys can visit as well. And then we can see whatever type of sessions or modules that we can work through. Yeah, you can contact me on all social media as I am Tanisha Simpkins.
fantastic. And yes, we will put everything in the description of today's episode so everybody can find you. So, what would be, do you think, signs that we are on the recovery path from people pleasing?
Signs in us that we're quiet when a person asks us a question. We're waiting too long to think of How can I say no? We're battling, like in the mind of what am I going to say? And then we end up saying, okay, I don't want to make this person feel this way. Or if a person go cross your boundaries, you're not, that's a red flag right there. And they know that. That's a lot of things. Especially people, it's a lot of times it's the people who are the closest to you. They know what they're doing, you know, and it's like, can you not do that? When you do this, can you not do that? Because you're making me feel like I have to make a decision that I don't want to make, and that I'm telling you no, and that I don't want to feel guilty, and I don't want you to be upset. So if you know this is how I feel, can you not, get me involved, or that my plate is full? You know that your plate is full. Don't accept another engagement at that time, or reschedule, or don't accept another outing, or get yourself together, or maybe you need a mental break. Those are the signs as well. If I feel so exhausted, that may be a sign that I may need to do a little bit of healing. Or I say that we're always developing ourselves. We should never stop developing ourselves. We should never stop learning. And that's for everyone. We should never stop learning how to develop ourselves and our emotions, our feelings of how we say things or how we think. Those things should always be continuous. So, what are some of our red flags? I think you said. We know what our red flags are. I just said it like that. We know when someone comes to us. We know what we're gonna say, and we have to get out of that mode of knowing to say no, or knowing to give an explanation of, hey, I can't do this. I'm booked this day. I have practice with my kids. I would love to, but not at this time. You know what I mean? Those things.
You just mentioned here guilt or being upset, so anger, resentment. And these are all emotions that sometimes we create when we want to please others. And if we sit in this emotion for a very long time, they can become very disempowering for us. How do you release those emotions? And in line with the name of this podcast, Forgive and Thrive, is there a role for self forgiveness or forgiveness to leave this emotion?
Oh God, I look at it as sometimes you can do things to people, or have done something, or even not knowing. That's a lot of that. A lot of times of not knowing that you may have offended someone, and you may have said, oh, "Hey, I don't know what happened, but I'm sorry," and they're still mad. Being mad, it gives out such bad energy. I feel like it makes people depressed, sad. How do I release it? I let it go. I just let it go. I'm at the point now, I'm 52 years, what am I, 52 years old, and I have this I don't care syndrome. I don't know if it's bad or good, but I got this syndrome like, man, I do not care. I can't care that you're so upset when we have maybe already resolved it, because that's something for you to deal with. That's something of your own development that other person has to deal with. If we have had a conversation and I say, hey, please forgive me, or my no is my no. I can't do this. I don't have enough to spare. I would love to be able to help you, but I can't at this time. That's it. If you get upset and feel mad about it, and oh, I know that they got it, or they should be able to. I always tell people, just hold on, you can't count nobody's emotions. You don't know what they're feeling on the inside. They could be dealing with something. So if they tell you no, that's their no. If you get upset, that's for you to deal with.
Absolutely. Tanisha, coming back on you, what are you working on or planning and you want to share with us?
Well, I'm working on. I just started. I'm doing a series on professional development, and I was talking to someone. I call it part two because I've always done professional development. And she said, "Well, why do you call it part two?" This was on Sunday. I said because we're like we was talking in a different generation, and I said everyone don't think the same as we did culturally then. 20 years from now. So everything that I have, it needs to be updated as to where our mind is, or how we think about things, how we communicate. We all don't communicate the same anymore as to me, as to a 20-year-old. So it's a whole professional development that I want to do, part two. And I also still do small circles when it comes to ministry. I am a woman of faith. So we do just feelings, I would say, transition trying to transform our life spiritually, economically, institutionally, physical, emotions, all those things as a transformation, of our life, of how it was and how we think it can be, or it can be better. Because like I said, we've always learning and striving to do better. That's what I'm doing for that. But me personally, I like to write. So I'm doing a writing for a film series based on a lot of different occasions of life from now, and a lot of little different scenes, real life scenes in this series. That's what I'm doing personally.
Fantastic. So we will put all the links to your handles, social media handles, and website on in the show note, as you mentioned before. Very final question: if there was one take-home message that you would love everybody to remember from this conversation, what that would be?
Smile. Just smile. No matter what your day is, get up in the morning and smile. Look in the mirror. We look in the mirror. Sometimes we brush our teeth in the mirror, whatever the case may be. But smile. Give yourself some affirmations. I tell my daughter, we put them on sticky notes, and we put them on the mirror, just a few of them, because sometimes we need to hear that even from our own self. That's the niceness that we're giving to ourselves, is to smile, look at some of those affirmations, and plan to have a great day. In the course of the day, something may happen and you feel like you have to be in that nice girl syndrome, because it happens, and we have seasons that it happens. But be okay about it. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't say, "Oh man, I gave in." Oh yeah, of course you gave in, but just be okay about it, and keep it moving. Just keep it moving, but smile.
Absolutely beautiful. So here we are at the end of this beautiful episode, but hopefully just the beginning of our journey to break free from the nice girls.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy and it's going to take some practice. You may feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, especially if you have been conditioned to put others before yourself for so long. But remember, it's not selfish to prioritize your needs, your voice, and your boundaries, as we just learned.
Right.
It's necessary. And if you're navigating the challenges of being too nice for your own good, I want to leave you with a quote, beautiful reminder from Emma Chodron, who said, "Compassion for others begins with kindness to ourselves." Amen. Tanisha, thank you
Amen.
very much for accepting our invitation and for sharing so much about yourself and what you do and your message with us. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And I would like to, invite myself again whenever you need me. But I thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's listening around the world. You're in London. I'm here in the U.S. and South Florida. So this is great, and it reaches a long line of rivers to get there. So I'm hoping that everyone were able to see it, and thank you so much for even bringing this conversation up for us to see. The other day was Mental Health Day. I don't know if they had that in the UK, but a couple of days was Mental Health Day, and I think this is a great conversation when it deals with our health. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Absolutely. Well, we would love to know what you think about this topic. Do you, or perhaps someone you know, suffers from the nice girl syndrome? If so, I'm sure that you will find this episode very inspiring. But if you think that you could do with some extra help, do check Tanisha's website, her work, and follow her on social media. You will find all the links in the description of today's episode. Hopefully not, but if you have been affected in any way by the topic we discussed today, as always, I invite you to seek professional help. Join me next time when we will continue exploring inspiring and challenging situations. Because remember, we are together in this journey. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this content, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell and like this video. See you in the next one.